The planet Ardan was quiet. Its red desert stretched for miles, broken only by jagged mountains and the occasional glint of distant metal. Nilo, a human scout, adjusted the straps of his pack and stared at the horizon. He had traveled far from the safety of the human colonies. The Frontier Corps had sent him to explore the outer planets, the edges of known space, where nothing human had fully understood. The day was hot, and the wind carried the faint smell of dust and minerals. Nilo's eyes narrowed as he noticed something unusual. A shape in the distance reflected the sun, metal shining against the dull landscape. He moved closer, careful to avoid leaving large footprints in the soft sand. The shape resolved into a station, old and abandoned, floating above the planet in low orbit. It looked like a research outpost, but its design was unlike anything humans had built. Smooth lines curved into impossible shapes, and faint lights blinked across its surface. Nilo's heart beat faster. This could be a discovery that would change human understanding of the universe. He activated his communicator. "This is Scout Nilo, Frontier Corps. I've located an unknown structure orbiting Ardan, requesting permission to approach." A crackle replied, but no one spoke. The remote communications system was weak at this distance. Nilo knew he had to make his own decisions. The shuttle approached the station, and its metal hull rattled slightly from the thin atmosphere. Inside the cockpit, Nilo watched the control panels on the station flicker to life. Lights glowed in patterns as if the station itself were aware of his presence. He held his breath. Something about this place felt alive. The docking clamps engaged with a soft thud, and Nilo suited up, checking his oxygen and weapons. The interior of the station was dark, cold, and silent. Every step echoed across the metal floor, making the place feel both massive and empty. He moved carefully, scanning for any signs of life. A faint hum vibrated through the walls. Nilo stopped, his hand on his weapon. The sound was steady, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. He followed it down a long corridor, past doors that opened and closed automatically. Strange symbols were etched into the walls, glowing softly in colors he did not recognize. Then, he saw it. A figure stood at the far end of the hall, wrapped in gleaming armor. Its surface was smooth and reflective, catching the dim light in ripples. The figure did not move at first, only observing him. Nilo's fingers tightened on his weapon, but his curiosity pushed him forward. The armored being spoke. Its voice was calm, melodic, but Nilo heard it in his mind rather than through sound. "You have come far, human. I am Terran. I am aware of your presence." Nilo froze. He had expected a machine or a hologram, but this was something else. It was alive. The words echoed in his mind, clear and precise. Nilo swallowed hard and responded aloud. I am Scout Nilo. I mean no harm. I'm here to explore." "Who are you, really?" "I am Terran," the being replied. "You call me beautiful, human, but you have not seen what I am beneath the armor." Nilo's curiosity overcame his caution. He lowered his weapon slightly. "What do you mean?" The lights in the hallway flickered, and the station seemed to shift around him. He could see faint patterns moving beneath Terran's armor, like light flowing underwater. Terran raised a hand and the walls bent subtly, creating new paths and closing old ones. "This armor is both protection and disguise," Terran said. "My true form is not made for humans to see easily. It can overwhelm the mind, but you may catch glimpses if you are willing." Nilo felt a mix of fear and awe. He had read about the Aurelians, an alien species rumored to be both magnificent and terrifying. Legends said they had left their home world centuries ago, exploring the galaxy and leaving traces of their knowledge in hidden places. He never thought he would encounter one. "Why show me anything at all?" Nilo asked. "Because I sense something in you, human," Terran replied. "Curiosity, courage, resilience, qualities rare among your kind. Perhaps you are ready to see more than most can bear." As they spoke, the station systems began to activate more fully. Doors opened, lights moved in patterns, and strange machines whirred softly. Nilo realized the presence of Terran was affecting the station. It was as if the being was part of the structure itself. Suddenly, alarms blared. Nilo spun around, expecting some kind of attack. A panel on the wall opened, and a drone emerged. Its design was sharp and metallic, moving with frightening speed. Nilo raised his weapon, but Terran placed a hand in front of him. "Do not fear them," Terran said. "They are guardians, remnants of my people's technology. They will not harm you unless I allow it." The drone approached cautiously, scanning the area. Terran's armor glowed faintly and the drone halted. Then, in a wave of light, Terran moved, and the drone's movement stuttered as if confused. Nilo watched in amazement. He had seen human technology, but nothing like this. Terran was not just a being in armor, they were a force capable of manipulating the world around them. "Are you alive like this?" Nilo asked, stepping closer. "Yes," Terran said. "Alive in ways you cannot fully understand. My body and mind are intertwined with quantum processes and consciousness beyond your species' limits. The armor hides this not out of shame but for protection. Few can endure the sight of my true self." Nilo nodded slowly. He felt a mixture of respect and awe. Humans had conquered planets and built incredible machines, but this was on another level entirely. "I want to understand," Nilo said. "Then you must be patient," Terran replied. "Understanding comes gradually. The mind must adapt before it can perceive. If you rush, you may lose yourself." The station shifted again, corridors bending, doors appearing where there had been walls. Nilo followed, careful not to lose his footing. Terran moved with fluid grace, leading him deeper into the station. They reached a large chamber filled with holographic displays. Stars, planets, and strange symbols floated in the air, shifting and spinning. Nilo's eyes widened. It was a map, but unlike any map he had seen. It displayed not just locations but probabilities, energy flows, and patterns of life across the galaxy. "This is the Aurelian's archive," Terran said. "I have preserved it here. Many come seeking knowledge, but few are ready to use it wisely." Nilo studied the projections. He could see human colonies marked, planets still unexplored, and paths of energy connecting distant worlds. This could help humanity survive," he whispered. "Perhaps," Terran replied. "Or perhaps it could destroy you. Knowledge alone is dangerous. Wisdom is required to use it." Nilo felt a thrill of excitement. For centuries, humans had looked to the stars and wondered what else was out there. Now he was standing in the middle of a repository of alien knowledge, guided by a being whose power and beauty were beyond comprehension. The hum of the station grew louder. Nilo realized that time would not wait. The planet below, the red deserts of Ardan, were silent witnesses to this encounter. Nilo felt the weight of responsibility. Whatever he learned here could shape the future of humanity. Terran's voice broke the silence. "You are brave, human, but bravery alone will not protect you. You must learn, adapt, and understand. Only then will you see what I truly am beneath this armor." Nilo nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and determination. He could see faint light patterns moving under the reflective surface of Terran's armor. Glimpses of a form more beautiful and strange than anything he had imagined. He knew that this was only the beginning of something greater, a journey that would test every part of his mind and courage. As the chamber lights flickered and the station hummed, Nilo and Terran stood side by side. A human and a being beyond human understanding staring into the unknown together. The frontier of discovery stretched out before them, filled with danger, wonder, and the promise of transformation. Nilo took a deep breath, ready to step further into the station, into knowledge, into a truth that would change not only his life but the future of humanity. The encounter had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The chamber was vast, and its walls shimmered with light that seemed alive. Nilo could hardly believe what he was seeing. The holographic maps floated in the air, showing stars, planets, and strange patterns that pulsed like living threads across the galaxy. He stepped closer, reaching out to touch one of the projections. His hand passed through the light, yet it felt warm, almost responsive. Terran stood nearby, still encased in armor that reflected the glowing patterns. "Do not be afraid to explore," they said, their voice calm and steady in Nilo's mind. "This is knowledge, but also guidance. Pay attention to more than what you see." Nilo nodded, taking a deep breath. He had been trained to observe, to analyze, but nothing in his training had prepared him for this. The information was immense, almost overwhelming. "How do I even begin to understand this?" he asked aloud. "You do not understand everything at once," Terran replied. "The mind of a human is not made for all the knowledge of the Aurelians. You must absorb it in pieces. I will guide you. We start with what is necessary." Terran raised a hand and the light pattern shifted, forming a glowing image of a star system. Planets rotated slowly around their sun. Lines of energy connected them. And Nilo realized that these were not just physical connections. They were flows of information, movement, and life. "This system," Terran said, "is stable. Life exists here, but its development depends on external influences. The Aurelians monitored systems like these to understand the growth of civilizations. Observe how energy flows. Watch how interactions change the outcome. Nilo watched carefully. He could see the planets as more than spheres of rock and gas. They were alive in a way he could feel. He saw resources moving, climates shifting, and even small patterns that suggested intelligent life. It was like seeing the heartbeat of a world. How do you see all this? Nilo asked, awe in his voice. I perceive through more than sight, Terran explained. My mind interacts with these patterns directly. The armor hides this from most beings because the intensity of perception can harm fragile minds. Humans are resilient in courage but limited in comprehension. You will learn slowly. Nilo felt a shiver run down his spine. The being before him was more than an alien. They were a bridge between what he knew and the infinite possibilities of the universe. Are you a machine? He asked. Terran shook their head. I am alive, though not as you are. My body, my mind, and my essence are intertwined with processes that surpass biology. Quantum patterns, consciousness, and energy flow are parts of what I am. The armor is only a shell. Beneath it is a form beyond your species' limits. Nilo tried to imagine it, a being alive in ways that humans could not fully perceive. A mind capable of seeing the galaxy as if it were a single organism. He could feel both fear and fascination. Why show me this? He asked. Because you are different, Terran said. You do not come with violence in mind, only curiosity. Many humans arrive with destruction, with the need to conquer. You seek understanding, and for that, I will reveal what I can safely show. Knowledge is dangerous. Misused, it destroys. But shared wisely, it can elevate your kind. The station hummed, and Nilo realized it was responding to Terran's presence. Lights on the walls pulsed in rhythm with their thoughts. Machines moved as if alive. Even the air seemed to shimmer. Nilo felt a strange sense of harmony, as though the station itself was a living organism and Terran was part of it. You said this armor hides your form, Nilo said. But can I see even a glimpse? Terran paused. A glimpse will not harm you if your mind is steady. Look closely, and I will allow it. Slowly, Terran's armor began to shift. Light flowed beneath the reflective surface, creating patterns that resembled fractals and delicate filaments of color. Nilo stared, his eyes wide, trying to comprehend what he was seeing. It was humanoid in shape, but fluid, alive with light and energy. It moved and shifted, not like a body of flesh, but like the essence of a being made of thought and life itself. This is only a glimpse, Terran said. My true form cannot be fully perceived without risk. The mind may break trying to hold it, yet even this shows what lies beneath. Life beyond biology, intelligence beyond instinct. Nilo took a step back, amazed. His training, his experiences, his understanding of life, none of it could prepare him for this. It's beautiful, he whispered. Beauty is only one part, Terran replied. Strength, resilience, adaptability, and wisdom are the deeper parts. Observe not just what you see, but what it represents. That is the gift of knowledge. For hours, Terran guided Nilo through the station, showing him the archives and systems of the Aurelians. They explained how energy could be harnessed, how civilizations could rise or fall, and how small actions in one place could ripple across the galaxy. Nilo realized that the human colonies were just a small thread in the vast fabric of life. As they moved through a long corridor, a sudden vibration shook the station. Nilo grabbed the wall to steady himself. What was that? He asked. The station has defenses, Terran replied. The Aurelians left systems to prevent intruders from learning too much. Most will flee at the first alarm. You will stay because your mind is ready to focus. A panel slid open and automated drones emerged. They were metallic, insect-like, moving quickly toward them. Nilo raised his weapon, but Terran held a hand up. Watch, Terran said. With a motion, the armor shimmered and the light beneath it spread. The drones stopped, confused by patterns they could not interpret. Terran moved their hand and the drones froze, then retreated as if obeying an invisible command. Nilo stared. You control them? Not control, Terran said. Interaction. Their programming responds to patterns of energy. My presence alters the flow. The station is alive to me. I am part of it and it part of me. They moved on deeper into the station. The walls shifted slightly, guiding them to a chamber filled with strange artifacts. Nilo recognized some symbols from the Aurelians' old records, but others were completely unknown. These were collected from worlds across the galaxy, Terran explained. The Aurelians preserved knowledge, culture, and technology. Some items are safe to study, others must be left untouched until understanding is sufficient. Nilo reached out to touch a glowing sphere. As his fingers brushed the surface, he felt a pulse of information, images of distant worlds, life forms, and events he could not fully comprehend. His mind struggled to hold it, but Terran's presence steadied him. "You are learning quickly," Terran said. "Patience is key. Knowledge is powerful, but understanding gives it meaning." Hours passed. Nilo felt both exhausted and exhilarated. He had entered the station expecting to explore, to gather data. But he had found something far greater. A teacher, a guide, and a being whose presence alone challenged the limits of human understanding. "I can see now," Nilo said finally, looking at Terran. "Not just the maps, not just the technology, but you. You are more than anything humans have imagined. And you, human, are more than many expect," Terran replied. "Courage, curiosity, and the will to understand. These will guide you further. Together, we can explore what is possible." Nilo realized that he was standing at the beginning of a journey far greater than any mission he had undertaken. The knowledge of the Aurelians, the abilities of Terran, and the potential of humanity were all connected. What he learned here could shape not only his life, but the future of every human colony. As he looked at the glowing patterns beneath Terran's armor, Nilo felt a spark of inspiration. He understood that the beauty he saw was only part of the truth. The essence beneath the surface, the intelligence, the courage, and the connection to the universe, was the true wonder. The chamber hummed around them, alive with light and energy. Nilo felt a sense of awe, a feeling that he was a small part of something infinite. He turned to Terran and nodded. "Teach me," he said simply. "I will," Terran replied. "But remember, understanding takes time, one step at a time. Knowledge without wisdom can destroy, but with guidance it can elevate." The journey had begun, and for Nilo, the frontier was no longer just a planet. It was the vast, infinite possibilities of life, knowledge, and the universe itself, waiting to be explored with a guide unlike any human had ever known. The calm in the station did not last. As Nilo and Terran explored deeper chambers filled with Aurelian's knowledge, a sudden vibration shook the floor beneath them. Nilo stumbled but caught himself on the smooth wall. The hum of the station grew louder, faster, as if the building itself were reacting to something. "What is happening?" Nilo asked, his voice tight with tension. "Defenses," Terran replied. "The station senses intrusion. It is not your fault, but its protocols respond automatically. We must proceed carefully." Before Nilo could respond, panels along the walls slid open, revealing drones. They were sleek, insect-like machines with sharp edges that gleamed under the chamber lights. Their sensors glowed red as they scanned the room. Nilo raised his weapon instinctively, but Terran raised a hand. "Watch," Terran said. With a subtle gesture, Terran's armor shimmered and patterns of glowing light spread outward. The drones froze, their sensors flickering as they tried to interpret what was happening. Then, with a movement almost too fast to follow, Terran extended an arm, and the drones scattered backward, halted by invisible forces. Nilo's jaw dropped. You can control them?" he asked. "Not control," Terran said calmly. "Interaction. They respond to energy patterns. The station is alive and I am connected to it. I influence, I do not command." The drones recalibrated and advanced again, faster and more aggressive this time. Nilo fired, but his bullets bounced harmlessly off their sleek surfaces. Terran moved fluidly, armor glowing, and with a gesture the drones veered aside, almost as if dancing around the invisible force Terran projected. "Stay close," Terran instructed. "Do not fight. Observe and adapt. Your presence is useful, but the battle is beyond human limits." Nilo nodded, stepping carefully as Terran guided him through a twisting corridor. The walls seemed to shift with each step, forming paths that only Terran could navigate. The drones followed, relentless but disoriented, unable to fully respond to Terran's influence. "How do you do that?" Nilo asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Experience and integration," Terran said. "My mind and the station communicate. I perceive energy, probability, and intent. The drones react to the patterns I project. You will learn, but not now. Focus on survival." They reached a central chamber larger than anything Nilo had imagined. Its ceiling curved high above and light cascaded down in waves, reflecting off intricate surfaces. In the center floated a sphere of pure energy, rotating and pulsing in rhythm with Terran's movements. "The heart of the station," Terran said. "It maintains systems and defenses. It senses all who enter. We must use it to protect ourselves." Nilo stared at the sphere, feeling its hum in his chest. He realized that the entire station was alive, interconnected, and Terran was the key to interacting with it. It was not just a being in armor. Terran was a conduit, a bridge between life and technology, energy and consciousness. The drones attacked again, moving in coordinated waves. Nilo felt panic rising, but Terran's calm presence steadied him. With a series of motions, Terran extended their hands toward the sphere. Light shot out, forming barriers that intercepted the drones. Some were lifted into the air and gently set aside. Others froze mid-motion, trapped in patterns of energy that Terran projected. "Do not fear," Terran said, noticing Nilo's wide eyes. "Courage is important, but observation is key. Watch how I interact with the energy. Patterns are everything." Nilo studied carefully. He saw the flow of energy bending around Terran's armor, forming shapes, lines, and shields. Each movement was precise, controlled, and yet graceful. It was like watching a dance, but one with life-or-death consequences. "I have never seen anything like this," Nilo whispered. "It is alive." "Life takes many forms," Terran said. "Your species is limited by biology. Mine is limited only by understanding. Do not confuse power with purpose. Strength without wisdom is dangerous." They moved through the chamber, Terran guiding Nilo to positions of safety while continuing to neutralize drones. Occasionally the armor shimmered, and Nilo glimpsed Terran's true form beneath. Radiant patterns of light and energy, flowing and shifting in shapes that were almost humanoid but more intricate than anything natural. "Every time you see this," Terran said, "remember that the mind is fragile. Too much at once can overwhelm perception. Observe, but do not try to fully comprehend. That will come later." The battle continued, waves of drones pressing forward, but Terran's calm and skill allowed them to navigate safely. Nilo began to understand the connection between Terran and the station. Every light pulse, every movement of energy, every twist of the corridors was influenced by Terran's presence. The station itself became a partner in their defense. "Why protect me?" Nilo asked finally. "Why not leave me here?" "Because you are different," Terran replied. "Many humans bring destruction. You bring curiosity and courage. You seek understanding, not dominance. That makes you worth guiding. Your species has potential, but it must be nurtured." Nilo felt a surge of determination. If this being saw potential in humans, he would not let it down. He adjusted his grip on his weapon, moving carefully but ready to act if needed. Terran's calm influenced him, teaching him to observe rather than panic. A particularly large drone surged forward faster than the others. Nilo raised his weapon, aiming for a weak point he could see. He fired, and the drone staggered, confused by the human shot combined with Terran's influence. For the first time, Nilo felt like an active participant, not just an observer. "Good," Terran said. "You are learning to interact with the environment. Observe, adapt, act. This is how humans can survive in complex systems." The chamber grew quiet as the last of the drones retreated. Nilo took a deep breath, feeling his heart pound. He had survived an encounter that could have ended in seconds, all because of Terran's guidance and his own courage. "You are remarkable," Nilo said. "I still don't understand half of what you do, but I want to learn." "And you will," Terran replied. "But always remember, knowledge and power are tools. Use them wisely or they will destroy you. Observe the station, interact with it, but never assume you fully control it." The lights of the chamber pulsed softly, as if in approval. Nilo felt a sense of connection, not just to Terran but to the station itself. He realized that life was not only biological or mechanical. It could be woven from energy, thought, and consciousness. "Show me more," he said finally. Terran extended a hand, and the floor beneath them shifted slightly, creating a path to another chamber. The walls glowed with new patterns, maps of distant worlds, and symbols that seemed to pulse with information. Nilo felt excitement rise again. Every step revealed more of the Aurelian's secrets, but also more of Terran's abilities and wisdom. "These archives are vast," Terran said. "You will not absorb them all at once. Focus on understanding patterns. Learn to see connections. That is the first step toward comprehension." They moved through the halls, avoiding remaining drones and exploring chambers filled with floating artifacts and glowing data spheres. Nilo noticed that the station responded to him as well, subtle shifts in walls and lights guiding his path. Terran explained that his presence added another variable to the system, and learning to move with it was part of the lesson. "Every action matters," Terran said. "Even small movements create ripples. Awareness is as important as strength. As the day continued, Nilo felt both exhausted and exhilarated. He had witnessed power beyond human imagination, fought alongside a being more advanced than any he had ever known, and survived encounters that would have ended most humans. Yet he also felt a spark of hope. Humanity, with courage and understanding, could rise to challenges far greater than any planet or war. Finally, they reached a chamber filled with glowing glyphs, spiraling patterns of light that hovered in the air. Terran paused. Here you will see the first lesson of understanding energy and life as one. Observe, do not rush, and the patterns will reveal themselves. Nilo watched intently as the lights shifted, forming connections and flows that seemed to breathe. He realized that the station, Terran, and even himself were part of a single, complex web of interaction. The future was not fixed. Every choice mattered. I think I understand a little, Nilo said softly. You understand the beginning, Terran replied. Much more awaits. Danger will come and challenges will rise, but with courage and wisdom you can face them. Humans are fragile yet resilient. That is your greatest strength. Nilo nodded, ready to continue the journey. He had seen the first glimpse of Terran's true abilities, faced the station's defenses, and survived. But he knew that the path ahead would be even more challenging, filled with lessons, dangers, and revelations that would test his mind, courage, and heart. The adventure had only begun. After the attack of the drones, the station grew calm. Nilo and Terran stood in a wide chamber filled with soft, glowing light. Nilo's heart was still racing from the encounter, but he felt a new sense of determination. He had survived. He had witnessed powers beyond human understanding. He had seen glimpses of what lay beneath Terran's armor, and he knew the journey ahead would test everything he thought he knew. You performed well today, Terran said. You observed, adapted, and did not panic. That is more than most humans can do when faced with the unknown. Nilo shook his head. I only survived because you guided me. Without you, I would be nothing. Terran's armor shimmered softly. Perhaps. Yet your mind played its part. Courage and intelligence, when combined with guidance, create something more than either alone. That is the strength of humans. Do not underestimate it. The chamber was quiet for a moment, filled with the gentle hum of the station. Nilo realized that despite all the technology, the danger, and the complexity of Terran, he felt a sense of comfort in their presence. It was as if the being in the armor had become a center of stability in the chaos of the unknown. I want to understand more, Nilo said. I want to know your world, your knowledge, even if I can only grasp a little at a time. That is the right approach, Terran replied. Understanding cannot be rushed. The human mind absorbs in steps, and patience is required. The Aurelian's archives hold knowledge that can elevate civilizations, but also knowledge that can destroy if taken too soon. They moved together to a chamber filled with holographic data spheres. Each one floated in the air, glowing softly and projecting images of worlds, life forms, and civilizations long past. Nilo reached out to touch one, and immediately visions flooded his mind. Cities of light, oceans that glowed, skies filled with creatures of unimaginable shapes. Do not fear, Terran said. Your mind will adjust. Observe patterns, not details. Comprehend the flow, not the totality. That is how understanding grows. Nilo nodded, focusing on the patterns rather than the overwhelming details. Slowly, he began to see connections between civilizations, energy flows, and how small choices could affect entire worlds. He realized that the Aurelians had spent centuries observing, learning, and guiding life across the galaxy. They were far beyond human limits, yet they still respected the potential of other species. I see now, Nilo said softly. You are not just powerful. You are patient. You guide rather than control. That is wisdom, Terran replied. Strength alone does not create progress. Guidance, patience, and understanding create lasting change. Humans have potential, but often lack perspective. You are learning to see beyond immediate concerns, to think in patterns and consequences. That is rare. They walked together through the hall, stopping at chambers where ancient tools, devices, and energy artifacts hovered in the air. Nilo could feel their hum, subtle and alive. Terran explained the purpose of each, not in technical language, but in terms of energy, life, and balance. Nilo realized that the Aurelians' understanding of the universe was not limited to physical science. They saw life itself as energy, patterns, and harmony. This is beautiful, Nilo said. Not just the technology, but the way it all connects. Beauty is the surface, Taryn said. Harmony is the deeper truth. Observe, learn, and you will see that even humans have this potential. Your courage and creativity are threads in the larger web. That is why I guide you. As they moved, Nilo felt a growing sense of trust. Taryn was not a being of dominance or fear. They were a guide, a teacher, and a partner. He noticed that the light patterns beneath the armor seemed to respond to his presence, pulsing gently when he spoke, brightening when he made discoveries. It was subtle, but it made Nilo feel recognized, even valued. I feel connected, Nilo said finally. Like this station and you are alive and I am part of it. Connection is understanding, Taryn replied. To be alive is to interact, to perceive, to influence. You are learning this intuitively. That is why humans can surprise even those far beyond your species. Curiosity and courage create connections that power alone cannot. They entered a chamber with a view of the planet below. Arden's red desert stretched endlessly, dotted with mountains and valleys. The planet seemed small and fragile from the station, yet vibrant with potential. Nilo felt a pang of longing for his home, for human colonies he had left behind, but also pride in the journey he had undertaken. Your species is fragile, Taryn said, reading his thoughts. Yet fragile does not mean weak. Resilience is found in those who adapt, who learn, who care. Humans have survived against odds that would have destroyed many civilizations. That is your true strength, Nilo nodded. He thought of the frontier corps, of human explorers and pioneers, of every person who had faced the unknown and survived. The station below, the knowledge of the Aurelians and the presence of Taryn all highlighted what humans could achieve when courage and wisdom were combined. Do you trust me? Taryn asked suddenly. Nilo paused. I do. I think I understand that guidance is more than control. You could overwhelm me, but you do not. You teach. Then you are ready for a small revelation, Taryn said. Slowly they began to shift the armor, allowing more light to flow beneath. Nilo saw more of the intricate patterns, streams of energy weaving like ribbons of thought. He felt a mixture of awe and humility. Even this is more than I can comprehend, Nilo whispered. And yet you do not falter, Taryn said. That is human potential. Observe, learn, and adapt. One day you may fully understand aspects of this. But even now your courage will allow you to act wisely. That is enough. The chamber pulsed gently and Nilo felt a warmth, not of temperature, but of energy and awareness. It was as if the being before him, the station around him, and even himself were part of a single rhythm. He realized that connection, understanding, and trust were as powerful as any weapon or tool. They moved deeper into the station, finding chambers filled with floating artifacts and archives. Nilo learned to interact with energy patterns, recognizing how small actions could affect the flow of systems. Taryn guided him, correcting mistakes gently and praising correct observations. Nilo began to feel confident, not in his strength but in his ability to perceive, understand, and contribute. This is what I wanted, Nilo said. Not just to survive, but to learn, to grow, to understand. And that is why I am here, Taryn replied. Humans are not perfect, but potential is more valuable than perfection. Courage and curiosity, combined with guidance and wisdom, create progress. That is what you will carry forward. Hours passed in this rhythm, exploration and learning. Nilo felt exhaustion, but it was the satisfying exhaustion of growth and understanding. He had faced danger, seen power beyond comprehension, and survived. He had also learned lessons in observation, patience, and connection that he knew would guide him for the rest of his life. Finally, they paused in a chamber filled with soft, floating light. Taryn looked at Nilo, their armor glowing faintly. Rest now. Tomorrow we continue. The next lessons will challenge not only your perception, but your courage and judgment. But you are ready. Nilo nodded, settling to rest while still absorbing the glowing light around him. He thought of the journey so far, the encounter, the drones, the revelation of Taryn's abilities, and the connection he now felt. He realized that this was only the beginning. Humanity had potential, but the guidance of beings like Taryn could elevate them far beyond what they had imagined. As he closed his eyes, Nilo felt a sense of peace and purpose. He had faced danger and survived. He had witnessed beauty and power beyond imagination. He had begun to understand the delicate balance between knowledge, courage, and wisdom. And he knew that with Taryn's guidance, he would continue to grow, learn, and prepare for the challenges yet to come. The bond between human and Aurelian's guide had begun, and with it, the promise of a future where humanity could rise to meet the stars. The chamber pulsed softly, a heartbeat of energy, a reminder that life, connection, and courage were intertwined. Nilo felt ready. Tomorrow he would take the next step in understanding the true potential of both himself and his species. The bond between human and transcendent being had been forged, quietly through courage, observation, and trust. It was the beginning of a journey that would test minds, hearts, and the very limits of what it meant to be human. The station had grown eerily quiet after the long day of exploration and learning. Nilo and Taryn stood at the observation deck looking down at Ardan. The red desert stretched endlessly, glowing faintly in the station's soft light. Below, the planet seemed peaceful, but Nilo could feel tension in the station. Something was changing. The stability of the station is weakening, Taryn said, their voice calm but serious. Systems are failing, and the structure may collapse if we do not act. Nilo's heart quickened. He had survived drone attacks and navigated chambers filled with alien knowledge, but now the stakes were higher. What can we do? He asked. We have a choice, Taryn replied. We can leave immediately and save ourselves. Or we can stabilize the station and protect the Aurelians' archives, ensuring that their knowledge is preserved for humanity. Nilo looked at the glowing data spheres around them, the archives that held centuries of alien wisdom. He thought of the human colonies, of the explorers, of the countless people who could benefit from this knowledge. His mind raced, but his courage was steady. We stabilize it, he said. We cannot let it be lost. Taryn's armor shimmered with approval. Very well. This will require both your skill and your trust in me. You must act, observe, and adapt. Together we can succeed. They moved quickly through the twisting corridors, heading toward the station's central core. The hum of energy grew louder, vibrating through the floor and walls. Nilo felt the pulse of the station beneath his feet, alive and responsive to Taryn's presence. The core was massive, a sphere of pure energy that rotated slowly, surrounded by floating conduits and light streams. We must synchronize, Taryn said. The energy here is delicate. Even a small mistake could destabilize the entire station. Nilo nodded, focusing on the glowing conduits. He remembered the lessons Taryn had taught him. Observe patterns, adapt, and act with understanding. He reached out, touching a control panel. Light flowed through him, connecting his perception to the energy streams. It was strange and exhilarating. He could feel the station reacting to his presence. Good, Taryn said. You are learning to interact. Now we will work together to stabilize the core. Taryn extended their hands toward the sphere. Light flowed from the armor, intertwining with the station's energy. The sphere pulsed violently, threatening to shatter. Nilo adjusted the conduits as best he could, following Taryn's guidance. It was a delicate dance of energy and focus, requiring both courage and precision. Suddenly, the station shook violently. A panel collapsed nearby and sparks flew through the air. Nilo stumbled, but Taryn steadied him with a gentle touch, the armor glowing softly. Focus, human. Do not let fear control you. Nilo took a deep breath, centering himself. He concentrated on the flow of energy, adjusting conduits and channels as Taryn instructed. Slowly, the violent pulsing began to calm. The sphere's rotation stabilized and the hum of the station returned to a steady rhythm. You are doing well, Taryn said. Your understanding grows with action. That is how humans achieve greatness. Nilo felt a surge of pride. He had survived, learned, and now contributed to something far beyond himself. The station was alive, and for the first time he felt connected to it, not just as an observer but as a participant. Almost there, Taryn said. Just a final adjustment and the core will be fully stable. Nilo reached out, following the patterns Taryn projected. He synchronized his movements with Taryn, their energies flowing together. The sphere glowed brighter, the conduits pulsing in harmony. Finally, with a final coordinated motion, the core stabilized completely. The station hummed gently, alive but safe. We did it, Nilo whispered, feeling a mixture of relief and triumph. Yes, Taryn replied. You have proven courage, intelligence, and adaptability. You have learned to act in harmony with forces far beyond human comprehension. This is why I guided you. For a moment, they stood in silence, the glow of the station bathing them in soft light. Nilo looked at Taryn's armor, curious. Can I see all of you now? He asked. Taryn paused. Yes, you have earned it. But remember, the mind must be prepared. What you see is not just beauty. It is essence, energy, and consciousness intertwined. Slowly, the armor began to shift. Light flowed outward, revealing Terran's true form. Nilo stepped back slightly, overwhelmed by the sight. Beneath the armor was a being of radiant energy, humanoid in shape but far more complex. Streams of light weaved through their body like living threads. Patterns shifted constantly, fractals of thought and life. The glow was intense yet warm, not blinding but mesmerizing. Nilo's breath caught. "It's incredible," he whispered. "This is what lies beneath," Terran said softly. "Not just form but consciousness. Not just power but understanding. Few can witness this and remain themselves. You are one of them." Nilo stepped closer, awe in his eyes. "I never imagined life could be like this. You're not just alive, you're beyond everything I've known." "And yet," Terran said, "I have found value in humanity, courage, curiosity, and the desire to understand. These are your strengths. You have proven that humans can rise beyond limits if guided and inspired." Nilo felt a surge of pride. For centuries, humans had looked to the stars, imagining what lay beyond. Now he had seen it, not only through knowledge but through the living presence of Terran. He realized that the true beauty of the universe was not just in stars or planets, but in the courage and potential of life itself. "What happens now?" Nilo asked. "Now the knowledge of the Aurelians is preserved," Terran replied, "and you return to your kind, carrying not just information but understanding. The potential of humans is vast. You are the proof that life can adapt, learn, and rise to meet the universe." Nilo nodded, feeling the weight and responsibility of the moment. He knew that what he had learned here would guide humanity, helping them grow beyond what they had ever imagined. He looked at Terran, glowing and alive in ways words could not describe. "Thank you," he said simply. "You thank me," Terran replied, "but it is not I who deserves it. It is your courage, your curiosity, and your willingness to learn. That is what has brought you here. Remember this as you guide others." The station hummed gently, the core glowing softly. Nilo felt a deep sense of peace and purpose. The challenges, the danger, and the unknown had brought him to this moment. He had seen the true essence of a being beyond human limits, and he had learned that courage, wisdom, and understanding were as important as power. "Will I see you again?" Nilo asked. "Perhaps," Terran replied. "I exist in ways beyond time and space. When the need arises, when the universe requires guidance, our paths may cross again. For now, your journey continues, and humanity's story grows." Nilo took a deep breath, looking at Ardown below and the stars beyond. He felt small and vast at the same time. Small because the universe was immense and human life was fragile. Vast because courage, curiosity, and understanding could shape destiny. "I understand," Nilo said finally. "I will carry this forward." Terran's light shimmered, pulsing softly. "Then go, human. Share what you have learned. Inspire your kind. And remember that true beauty lies not in appearances, but in courage, knowledge, and the willingness to rise beyond limits." With that, Nilo turned to the shuttle that would take him back to human colonies. He glanced back at Terran one last time, seeing the flowing patterns of light and energy beneath the armor. He felt awe, respect, and gratitude. The journey had changed him forever. As he piloted the shuttle away from the station, Nilo looked out at the stars, thinking of the future. Humanity had a chance to rise, to learn, and to grow, and he would carry the memory of Terran's guidance, the lessons of the station, and the vision of what lay beneath the armor in his heart forever. The stars stretched endlessly, filled with possibilities, and for the first time Nilo felt not fear of the unknown, but excitement, determination, and hope. Humanity's story was just beginning, and he had glimpsed the future it could achieve. The adventure had ended, but the journey of discovery, courage, and growth would continue across the stars. Nilo knew that humanity's potential was limitless, and the universe awaited their rise. Word count, 1615.